Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Hampton, publisher of CityWatch, and Dennis Zine has had one of the more unusual public careers in Los Angeles as an LAPD motorcycle officer, police union leader, city council member, mayoral candidate, attorney, political commentator here on CityWatch. Dennis, I'm exhausted, but thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm good, Jim. You're exhausted. You think how much I feel going through all those challenges and those careers and those elections and all that goes along with it. But I'm a native Angelino, born here in 1947 when it was a beautiful place. And what
Yeah.
I see happening with this beautiful city is not what I had wished it turned into. But this is the case that we have to deal with.
So why did you choose the LAPD over other career possibilities back then?
When I was growing up, and I didn't grow up in a rich family, my dad was a gardener. We lived in a two-bedroom apartment. My dad, my mom, me, and my brother didn't grow up in a rich environment. And I figured I want to do something good. I went to parochial school, St. Ambrose, up at Fairfax and Fountain, which is now the city of West Hollywood, then was part of Hollywood, city of LA. And I just decided, you know what? Police work, Jack Webb, Adam 12, Dragnet. When I grew up in the era of Highway Patrol, Broderick Crawford, California Highway Patrol, it was a different environment that we had. And I remember what it was like then. And I said, "Oh, the policemen are good people. They protect. They serve society." I remember calling the LAPD a couple of times. Used to call operator, and that would get you police officer. And I remember a couple of times I had to call for something. The officers came out. We had a friend of the family, Glenn. I remember his first name, and he came over a couple of times in his police car and uniform. And I just got saying, you know what? It's a good job to help people to make a life good, make it safe. So as a young person, I decided, that's what I want to do as a career. And be honest with you, at almost 80 years of age, I have no regrets.
Do you remember your first day in uniform?
I will never, ever forget the first day in uniform. When I went through the police academy, it was 1968. I was 21 August 1st, and August 11th, I entered the police academy. So there's the background and all the tests before that. But as it turns out, my birthday was August 1st. You had to be 21 to enter the academy. And 11 days after my birthday, I was in the academy. But what they did back in the day is you'd have 1 month in academy and then 1 month out in the field in a black and white with a uniformed officer, a training officer, and you're now in uniform. So you got 1 month of training, and now you're in a black and white car driving around with a training officer. And while your eyes are what, whoa, what is this all about? So the first night, my training officer worked the traffic division out of downtown. I'll never forget this evening. And the first call I ever had as a police officer was a motorcycle fatality on Highland, south of Melrose, north of Wilshire Boulevard. And I had no idea. I mean, I rode a motorcycle as a kid and I was into motorcycling. That's when we had no helmet. And that was the first call I ever went on. And the whole night was in that investigation, had to go to the coroner's office, view the body. So I'm a 21-year-old kid, and here I am saying, this is police work. I mean, it was very depressing to see death at that age and on your first call. And at that time, you went 1 month in the academy, 1 month in the field, 1 month in the academy, 1 month in the field. And during your training period, that's how you did it. 1 month in and then out to practical application. But that was my first call that I will never, ever forget. Had to go to the coroner's office and talk about a 21-year-old kid who's out of college, 1 month of training, and there I am. And thank goodness I had a training officer who knew what he was doing because I had no idea what I was doing.
That must have been quite traumatic at the
It was
time,
very
you know.
traumatic. I wasn't used to seeing people killed. I wasn't used to seeing people in accidents, especially in this particular case, a motorcycle. And apparently, the motorcycle a rider made a left turn on Highland and got broadsided and killed right there in the intersection. I mean, I vividly recall that. And every time I think of my first day on the job, that was my first radio call as a Los Angeles police officer.
Did you have second thoughts about doing that job after that happened?
No, I figured, well, this is the worst it can be. It's going to have to get better than this. Because obviously, the 21-year-old, I wasn't going to medical school. I wasn't into this, blood and gut situation. But that was the first time that I'd seen that. And, I lived through it. It was emotional. I can't deny that. You're a young 21-year-old, you're in uniform, you're representing law and order, and here you see a tragic death of an individual. And the connection was I rode a motorcycle also. So there was that bond. And back
Yeah.
then, there was no helmet law. You rode without a helmet. And luckily, if you wore sunglasses in the daytime, there was really no real emphasis on safety back then. And you'd be driving down the street. Obviously, people speed, they ran red lights, etc. We've become more sophisticated in the cars, the operations, but we've become more deadly when it comes to collisions. And I chose to go into a traffic assignment. I think maybe it was based upon that tragedy that I witnessed, that I experienced, and helped with the investigation. The kid led me into the traffic field within the Los Angeles Police Department.
And you're on your own, you're solo when you're doing motorcycle policing.
I had like 2 years on the job, which was young to become a motor officer. And I went to motorcycle school, which was up at Griffith Park at the time. And I remember we used to have to take they were Harley Davidsons back then, very heavy Harley Davidsons. We'd meet at 6 o'clock in the morning at the zoo, and we'd drive in the parking lot. And we had to go down to the LA River. LA River was all of this slime on the bottom of the river and the little water, and you'd be slipping and sliding. I really got an introduction into police motorcycle enforcement, and I did 18 years. I did 18 years on the motorcycle. 18,
What do you
and
think?
my phone keeps going off. 18 years I did as a motorcycle officer and a supervisor, a sergeant on motorcycle detail.
What do you think is the biggest misconception the public has about police officers right now?
I don't think they really understand that they joined police department to protect and serve. I really believe in that motto, protect and serve. And my son is a captain with LAPD. He joined, followed my footsteps. He's now a captain on the commander's list. He runs a police division in the city of Los Angeles, well respected. And I've got quite a legacy within the police department. I was a union director with the Police Protective League representing officers. That led me to city council, but I'm still a reserve officer. I still serve on the LAPD as a reserve officer. In fact, last night I had dinner with a number of retired command staff, including the chief of police came by and joined us for dinner. So Jim
Great.
McDonald came by in full uniform. It's very, very hot in the San Fernando Valley. He's in full uniform with the tie. I said, Chief, we have a thing called Code C where you wear a short sleeve shirt. When I joined, you could only wear a short sleeve shirt certain months of the year. It wasn't at your discretion. Now it's at your discretion. I said, Chief, it's like boiling out here. He says, I have to look sharp. I said, Chief, you look sharp, but you also look hot in that uniform because it was so hot here in the San Fernando Valley. It was 90, 99 degrees yesterday.
So the Rodney King thing was a pivotal moment in terms
Yes.
of saying how did it change the job for you, and what did they do to try to, I guess, move forward from that?
Well, it was tragic, very tragic. Tragic for Rodney King, tragic for the officers involved, and tragic for Los Angeles in general. You have certain tools that you use in law enforcement. The last one you want to resort to is your revolver. Now, we had a 6-shooter. That's what we had, a 6-shooter. You had a baton, which now is a PR-24, basically a lead pipe. We used to have tactical procedures, and we could take people down. We had what's called the modified bar take count control, where you would place your arm around and cut off the flow up to the brain and knock them out. And they would recover. They took that away. They said, you can't do that. Okay, so fine. Well, they took tools away that were what we consider non-lethal and humane, and they said, well, now you've got the stick, the baton, and it's a brutal stick, and they're metal, and they hurt. And you got Rodney King, who was a big man and resisting, and if you got an officer who's 5 foot, 5'8", whatever the case may be, and they're not martial arts experts, they go through physical training, they go through hand-to-hand combat, but they're not all martial arts experts. And that was the problem with Rodney King. He was very large and he fought. And the officers tried to subdue him in the manner which they were instructed. They instructed with that PR-24, that baton. They were doing what they were trained to do. Unfortunately, society didn't think that was the proper thing to do. I look at it to say, where do we have these non-lethal weapons that we can use to take a combative individual into custody? Rodney King was very combative. So the officers have to use the tools they have. You don't want to use deadly force. You only want to use deadly force if there's absolutely no alternative. And that is something that when you take a life, when you pull that gun and it takes a life, there's a lot of consequences that come along with that. But they don't really, even today, as we are with officers who are 5'8", 5'7", and I've seen these officers that are very short in stature, and I say, how are they going to handle a combative suspect? So they've pulled a lot of tools away that were non-lethal. This what they used to call the chokeout. It was very effective. It doesn't matter how tall, big, how whatever. Once you cut off that circulation, people went out. But then again they said no, and they keep on removing tools. Now, what happens in these civil demonstrations that we have is they're using tear gas. I'll tell you about tear gas. The only time I went through tear gas was training in the police academy in 1968. I never in my entire time, my 33 years, did we ever resort to tear gas. Now they're using tear gas routinely to move demonstrations. I mean, the technology is changing. Unfortunately, they don't think police should use technology. We just had a huge outburst of violence in the South Bay. I think it was somewhere in Orange County, where like a number of people were arrested. It was 400 people were arrested. It was a chaotic situation in a very conservative part of Southern California. You need to give tools to officers to challenge combative people. Not everyone's going to say, okay, well, I'll put my hands behind my back and go to jail peacefully. There's some people who want to resist, but you need the tools to resort to that. They wear body cams now. Everybody's wearing a body cam. Body cams are very effective, but the fact of the matter is that's going to capture what's occurring, and you got to look at it from the officer's perspective. What kind of training do they have? Are they a martial arts expert? Most of the police officers are not martial arts expert. And I've seen officers that I look at their stature. It's like they're so short. They weigh maybe 120, 130 pounds. It's nice with a cooperative individual, but oftentimes, and you're a big guy, Jim. I've seen you. You're a big guy. You're obviously a gentleman, but if you wanted to resist and you wanted to fight, you're going to have a 5-foot officer that weighs 100 pounds. There's not much of a challenge there. So what we need to do is have technology adapt to the situation, because you've got people who go to prison. You've got a homeless population where people are on drugs and they don't want to cooperate. They resist. So my heart goes out to these officers that have to deal with it. Officers can't turn their back and say, I'm going to walk away. So think of the tools that you're giving officers to make us a safe society. And I had an opportunity on the 4th of July, a situation was occurring. I called 911. I'm waiting 10 minutes for an operator to answer. 10 minutes and no one answered. 911 waiting 10 minutes and no one answered. This is the kind of service that we can't accept in the city of Los Angeles. They don't have enough operators, dispatchers. They don't have enough police officers. And I met with the chief yesterday talking about the Olympics. I worked the 84 Olympics, and we did an excellent job on the 84 Olympics, maintaining order and security and protection of everyone, athletes and the public. But we don't have enough personnel now to handle radio calls. And now they're talking about bringing in officers from throughout the United States, changing the law. We'll bring in officers from East Coast, West Coast, and make them Los Angeles somehow work the Olympics in the security detail. I don't know how that ever happens. I don't know how you take the Army and mix it with the Navy, and the Navy with the Air Force and the Marines. You've got different branches that do different activities. Police officers from New York versus police officers in Chicago, police officers in Florida, police officers in Los Angeles. How are we going to police the Olympics? Say, oh, the 2020 Olympics can be wonderful. But I'm looking at the security aspect, and we don't have enough police officers to police the city at this time. And let me give you another example. They say crime is down. I think one of the reasons crime is down is a lot of people aren't making reports. I know in my neighborhood, a bunch of people had their catalytic converter stolen. No one made a police report. And when your home is burglarized or you're robbed and you don't make a police report, it's great. There's no crime. You don't make a report, there's no crime. It's imperative that people make a report when they're a victim of a crime, whether it's a purse snatch, a car theft, a burglary, whatever the case may be. And the reports now are all automated. They're all automated. There's no more handwritten reports. It's all automated. So when they talk about crime is down, I really question that, knowing that many people can't get through 911 and many people just forget it, call the insurance, don't make a police report.
So when you're watching TV and you see some of these things that seem to occur in other cities, which obviously look bad, what is your thought about that?
What are those officers thinking? See, when I go out in the field, and I still go out in the field as a uniformed officer. I'm thinking everybody's got a video camera, everybody's got a cell phone, everybody's taking pictures of what I do. Everything I do that will be recorded. And I want to stand tall and say, you know what? I did exactly what I was trained to do in a humane fashion. But I can remember situations where the officers like they want to be like a hero, like they were wrestling a bull and they want to be a hero. That's not what this is about. You got to sell the public that you're there protecting and serving in a lawful manner. That's the bottom line. It's got to be done in a lawful manner, in a professional manner. You have to control your emotions. If you can't control your emotions, you don't belong in law enforcement. You got to
Exactly.
control your anger. That's just part that goes along with the process. Or you're going to find yourself in trouble. You're going to get indicted. And I've seen situations where that has happened. But the bottom line to this is humane fashion. Now, the public has an obligation also to cooperate. The law says when an officer tells you to do something, do it. And if you cooperate, remember the body cam is tape recording everything, video recording everything that you're doing. So you want to cooperate with that. And the evidence is right there, whether you're being combative, hostile, or cooperating. And that's key. I tell people, if they tell you to do something, do it. You want to argue afterward, call for a supervisor, but do what the officer tells you to do. That's on body cam. That's going to either show that you're cooperative or you're not.
So, what got you into the union as far as the police? How did that transition sort of happen?
The riot, the riot got me into the union. I was a motorcycle supervisor, and I can remember going through the riot. We were overwhelmed with violence. We were overwhelmed with buildings burning, overwhelmed with people getting murdered. The riots, and I'm there as a motor sergeant. I've got, I believe, 4 to 6 officers with me, and we're on motorcycles. We have nothing to protect us. We're wearing bulletproof vests on our motorcycles, no special equipment, and we're down in the riot zone. And I'm looking at this day. We're working 12-hour shifts, exhausted as can be. There was a curfew in the city. The city was shut down. You couldn't go out to a restaurant. You couldn't go to a market. The city had a the City of the Angels had a curfew. How do you have the City of the Angels with a curfew that you can't venture out of your home? I mean, absolutely outrageous. So I'm working this 12-hour detail for, I can't count the number of days. It seemed indefinite. And at the end of it, we went to the Coliseum. The president came to the Coliseum and addressed everyone, thanking us. You did a great job. Half the city's burned. People are dead. But, congratulations and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I got back on my motorcycle. Coming back to the San Fernando Valley, and I'm on my motorcycle, and I was so emotionally upset with what I experienced in the riot and seeing buildings burned and people killed. Now, how does this happen in a civilized society, in the City of the Angels, no less? And I said, I can't go on the freeway. I didn't feel safe going on the freeway. So I took surface streets from the Coliseum to the San Fernando Valley. On my motorcycle, either 5th Street or 6th Street, I don't remember which one it was. I come up to a red light. Next to me is the Channel 7 Eyewitness News fan, Henry Alfaro, waiting for the light to turn green. Henry looks at me, and I'd known him from other interviews. He says, Dennis, how you doing? I said, Henry, I am so upset. I am so angry. He said, what's the matter? What's the matter? Pull over. I pulled over into a gas station. He got the cameraman out, and I opened up. I was so angry. Ramona Ripston, ACLU, cops were evil, cops were bastards, cops were this. I let out everything. I opened up on everybody in the political arena of Los Angeles. All the critics, all the people who were criticizing us for doing wrong. I opened up on everybody. And I went back to my motorcycle, traveled home, called my mom. Said, Mom, I'm going to probably get fired. But I said what needed to be said about how the city was run into the dogs because the leadership let everything go and the city burned. The city of my birth burned because of incompetence in politics and lack of support for law enforcement. Lo and behold, that aired on the 5 o'clock news. I'm telling you, the phone calls were coming in from right and left. Zine, you said everything that we were feeling. You stood up for us. I said, I was just at the right place at the right time. And that launched me into the Protective League. And that launched me into city council. But that incident, that riot, what we went through, what I went through personally, the city of my birth, the city of the angels, I exploded. And it led me where I was, where I ended up. City of Los Angeles, city councilman. But at the Protective League, I was very supportive of law and order, very supportive of the police officers. That's how I got to city council. I wasn't planned. It just happened. It just evolved into that. But it was the emotions that I experienced, which were really emotions. I mean, I feel right now, how many years later is this? And I still get emotional about it. Years later, I get emotional about it. That's how it affected me. So you make me cry once in a while.
Well, those memories never go away.
They don't. But when you see innocent people killed, when you see buildings burned, and I can remember I was on Vermont. I called for the fire department. I saw a building where the fire just started. What they would do is they'd go in there and loot everything, and then they torch the building. I remember calling 911. I'm on a police radio. And the response was, there's no fire units available. I said, how come there's no fire units available? This is the city of Los Angeles. I got a building going up in flames. There's no units available. I said, oh my God, how can the city of Los Angeles not have fire trucks to put out a fire? That's how bad it was. And you can imagine a police officer who is sworn to protect and serve is failing everybody and feeling guilty about it. That building burned to the ground because I couldn't get a fire truck, because there were none available. How outrageous can that be? So the elected officials in City Hall, responsible for providing public safety, the resources for that failed miserably. And as a city councilman, my first thing was public safety. We'll do all the lollipops and roses, but we've got to do public safety first. And it was one of the Greg Smith, one of my former colleague also. We were very supportive. And believe me, the city council today is nothing like it used to be. We all got along. We may not like each other, but we all got along. And we all got along for the people of Los Angeles. It wasn't like what it is today, because I talked to council members that this is not a very positive environment. Someone makes the motion. They want to have council meetings once a week. Once a week. So what are you doing the rest of the week? You're not going to council to establish law and order. So vacation for, you work once a week, 4 days a month, and you're making, six-figure salary with benefits. That was actually proposed by some of the current city council members. 1 day a week. I mean, the people of Los Angeles, honest to God, need to wake up. Reading CityWatch, hopefully it'll open their eyes. And voting, what we've got coming upon us now is we've got Karen Bass, Nithya Raman. And believe me, there's a difference of night and day. And people have their choice. Vote for who you wish, but there'll be consequences. And consequences may be affecting you, your business, and your family. But we now currently have an understaffed police department, understaffed dispatchers, understaffed fire department. And what's coming up in November is a whole lot of tax increases. And I'm not supporting tax increases, but the one for streetlights, for example, streetlights, what do they want to do? They want to put solar. What about all the wire that's being stolen? Why don't they go after the places that pay for that copper wire that's coming in? Why don't they bust all those people and put them in jail for taking the copper wire? Streetlights, my streetlights in my neighborhood in the West Valley, they were all out. Well, they come and they replay and they come steal it again. And it's a circle. But the leadership of this city needs to wake up if they want to save the city. New York, as we see what's happening, is going through some massive changes. Seattle's going through some massive changes. And people who have been here a long time need to wake up to the reality of what they are facing in the governance of the city of Los Angeles. In support, you've got council members that have disdain for Los Angeles Police Department. Total disdain. for the police department. Some council members think police officers shouldn't carry guns because if they don't carry a gun, the bad guy won't shoot them. Don't know that the bad guy doesn't care if the police officer carries a gun or not. So we have, my heart goes out to the police officers who drive those black and whites. But if you see the number of black and whites that have been reduced, you see the number of motorcycles that have been reduced, you see everything. And we got, I think the city controller says, let's take down the helicopter because it's too expensive. But when you put out a help call and that helicopter is over broadcasting what's going on, that is the life-saving that you're looking for. But people just, they're not in the know. They need to get involved. Get involved with your senior league. Get involved somehow. Public safety is everyone. Your home, your child, your husband, your business, your car, your catalytic converter, everything. And if you don't get off your ass and do something, it's going to be gone. I have a neighbor who lived a block away. A husband retired from Rouse. Wife just retired from Kaiser Permanente. And 2 college graduate LA Unified teachers. The family of 4, they sold their house. They moved to Arkansas to get out of Los Angeles, moved to Arkansas. And I drove them to the Flyway here in the Valley and bid them farewell and spoke to them a few times after they left. Their situation now in Arkansas. They couldn't take any more Los Angeles. And some of the viewers are going to say, you know what? I'm on the verge of leaving Los Angeles too. This is a beautiful place, but the governance of this city needs to be changed in a manner that affects us, the working class, that paying taxes, that want to be safe streets. My neighborhood's getting inundated with homeless. They steal the shopping carts. They go to Home Depot, they'll steal the big carts, and they set up in front of your lawn. I mean, it's disgraceful. And I talk to the senior lead officers, what are you doing about it? Well, we tell them to leave. Then they go around the corner. And we tell them to leave, they go around the corner. This homeless situation, Jim, it is unbelievable. This city has spent not millions, but billions upon billions upon billions for homeless. And it's not getting any better. I don't care what they tell you. I've been in every homeless count they've given. I've been in every time you go out in the driving car at night and you're going looking for homeless at night in the dark. It's absurd how they count the homeless. You could look in your neighborhood, folks. You got homeless everywhere. And they're spending billions of dollars, and the people who are orchestrating this are making a lot of money. And we, the taxpayers, are getting the shaft. You have homeless. Whether you're mentally ill, we have facilities. If you're drugs, we have facilities. I don't think people need to be discarded on the street, but it's inhumane how we're treating the homeless. And it's a disgrace to the communities that have to tolerate it. Go to Beverly Hills. You don't have homeless. Go to the western part of the San Fernando Valley, into Calabasas. You don't have homeless. How is it that some neighborhoods don't have it and other neighborhoods are surrounded by homeless population? It's sad. The city of Los Angeles needs to wake up. And if they don't wake up, God help us. In the 2020 Olympics, you're not going to have enough police officers to police the city, leave alone that, until they come up with some plan. And what I was told, they're going to bring officers from all over the country to work the 84. I worked the 84, the 2020 Olympics. I keep on thinking the 84 Olympics was great. It was a beautiful opportunity for everyone. And being in law enforcement, I was in charge of escorting athletes in motorcades. We load them up on school buses and we take them to the venues, and there'd be security. Everybody was safe and secure. We took them back to UCLA where they were housed. The campus was secure. And this was a wonderful Olympics for the country, for the world. We're facing another one with lack of person.
Do you think that LA is just too big a city to govern?
I don't think it's too big. What I think is their priorities are distorted. I think the priorities need to come in line with what the taxpayers accept. They want their streets paved. Now we'll see. They'll patch. They'll do a patch here, do a patch there. Pave the damn streets. We're paying extreme prices for gasoline and the taxes involved. But there's one council member who's notorious for hating the police, despises the police. And this council member is now providing in her district free laundry service. 2 days a week, they will come by and do your laundry for you in a portable vehicle. I mean, how absurd is that? And that's taxpayers' money providing that service. Why the hell do we as taxpayers have to provide this to a council member to provide laundry service to her constituents? I grew up in a house where we had a washer and dryer. I have a washer and dryer. When I don't, I go to the laundromat. I mean, it's absurd that those are tax dollars that could be used for some benefit of the city. But no, this particular councilman, they have what's called discretionary funds. What discretionary funds are is how you want to spend it. That's discretionary. It's tax dollars. And this particular council member is notorious for anti-police everything. And it's just sad because it's a individual's elected. I think this individual is outrageous with what this individual believes and does, but this individual is an elected council member. So we, the public, have an obligation and a right to live in an area that we feel safe and secure and have them work for us. We don't work for the council. They work for us. People need to get off their butt and make sure they do what we need in our community. And then let me tell you another thing about ADUs, additional dwelling units. They're taking garages where they have carports and converting them into ADUs. Now there's no place to park a car. Oh, it's okay. If you live within a mile, use the public transit. Well, maybe I don't want to carry my grocery back and forth on a public transit. I mean, they're taking the convenience that we have and destroying it. These are the elected officials, the 15, and they want to expand it. They want to add 10 more. And look at the council salary. Look up how much a council member makes and how much they work and how much travel they get. How many went to Paris for the Olympics? Just think of how they travel at our expense and what they're doing, not for us, but against us. I can go on for hours. We could have a show that lasts all day.
You should run for mayor.
Yeah.
You thought about it?
I thought about it. I said, you know what? I'm not going to sell my soul to become anything. The Protective League backed me. I had union backing because I was a league director. But my principles and values are with the people. I believe in God. I go to church, but I represent all people, whether you're Jewish or you're Catholic or you're Muslim or you're Black or you're Hispanic, whatever the case may be, Asian. I got my friends represent the universe of nationalities. But no, I think the city can be managed and controlled if you have the right leadership. But this leadership that we have in place now, there's some good council members. I will say there's some very good council members, and there's some that have the wrong agenda. And as that agenda continues, as they want to expand the council, because I was nominated to become I was the original charter commissioner. I was vice chair of the original Charter Reform Commission with Janice Hahn and other people. I was nominated to get on this charter commission, and I met with some of the council members. I said, "This ain't for me." I said, I withdrew. I was nominated by Bob Blumenfield. Called me, "Would you like to do it?" I said, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." And after I saw what they were doing, I said, "This is absurd." The charter they're coming up with, a shorter day for council people, so they work less, make more. I mean, it's just, and I feel for our mayor. Our mayor has to deal with these people. But there's a thing called the DSA. The DSA are taking over New York. They're taking over other states, other cities. God forbid if they take over Los Angeles. If the DSA takes over Los Angeles, they now have some people that are part of the group. They do have some people part of the group, and they're not good for the general public. The DSA is adverse to public safety. The DSA is not complementary to our focus and reality of life. That's the bottom line. So if you're a DSAer, I can't support you. And there are people who are in office who are DSA believers, and there are people who are running for DSA, running as DSA. And it's not a good thing. If you do some research on it, you'll find it's not good. But LA could fall just like other cities have fallen. And just track what's happening in New York. You're going to promise everything: free lodging, free food, free transportation, free everything. And you can only tax millionaires and billionaires so much, and then they finally say we're out. And then what are you going to do? Have it fair, have it reasonable, have people be part of the system. It can balance, but this whole thing, let's take from the rich and give to the poor. I think there was old history when people did that. It didn't last very long.
Well, now you're writing for CityWatch, and
I love it. I love it. You know what I like about Jim and your predecessor, Ken? What I like about it is you don't censor anything. You can say what the hell you want to say and say it. It's great. I can express myself without, like, if I got interviewed by the Times, the Daily News, it's very sanitized. Hey, make sure it's honest and direct, and away you go. I like that.
That's the thing, making sure that it is, even though it might be opinion, it is backed up by facts and so forth. And, we don't censor. There have been a couple occasions where a writer has gone a little too far, name calling and stuff like that, which,
That's childish.
is legal.
Yeah.
But it's not CityWatch. Let the reader get out of it what
Yeah.
they should get out of it. So I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate that you've been here doing this for such a long time with us. I wish you did more, actually.
It started with
And
Ken.
this
Well,
is
I was doing twice a month, but my schedule, I serve on so many boards of directors, the San Fernando Valley Mental Health Association, the YMCA, this and that, the Chamber of Commerce, United Chamber. I serve on many organizations. I still serve LAPD as a reserve officer, level one reserve officer. So, I mean, I got a full plate, really a full plate. And what I try to find out is, I keep on getting these people calling me, and I just cancel them out. What I find is I enjoy the opportunity, rants and raves. And when I came up with that title, rants and raves, I rant, and I rave. I will rave about the people who are doing great, and I'll rant about those who are ripping us off, and I'll rant about those council members who should not have been elected, who should leave office. And I'm not talking about leaving office like some have left office, as we know. Some have gone to prison, and some are waiting to go to prison. I mean, current Price, how long can he drag this on before they finally come up with a disposition? Mark Ridley Thomas, how long is he going to drag it on? I mean, you've got people who've done time, you've got people who are currently doing time. But when you talk about corruption in municipal government, and I'm proudly saying to people, they said, I never had the FBI knocking on my door or checking my records because I had nothing to hide. You want to come in and check? Hey, check. Have your way. But when you're honest with it, but when you're doing things dishonest as an elected official, you're betraying not only yourself, your soul, your family history, but the people who put their vote of confidence in you. You're betraying them, the public who's working hard, paying taxes to put you in office to make their life better. You betray them. That's a disgrace. And not just one or two or three. There's been a whole bushel full just here in the city of Los Angeles.
It's hard to imagine that after one or two or three have gone through indictments or gone to jail, that there's still another one waiting to break the law. I mean, you think they would somehow think, maybe this is a bad idea. And
what about
no.
the fire? What about the fire union? The guys at the fire union. And what about the school? What about the superintendent of LA Unified? What about him? He hasn't been indicted, but there's speculation. He's resigned. I mean, you're talking about the high level of government, high level of the superintendent of public education, LA Unified School District. He's now resigned because I read that, the call was coming in. But just LAC, only 15 council members. You couldn't find 15 honest people in the city of Los Angeles. 4 million people. You couldn't find 15 honest people.
Well, that's why they need to expand the number of city council members so that the indicted percentage goes down.
You increase the odds of the good people. Yeah. No, it's really sad. When you take that oath, when you swear yourself in to do that, you need to uphold that. That's a very sacred thing you do. And people put their trust in you. When I was in council, people said, how do I get a hold of you? I said, well, here's my phone number. I can have your phone number? Yeah, I'm your council member. You can have my phone number. Okay, I'm not got nothing to hide. So it's just a matter of what you're there for. You're there for yourself, or you're there to make it better for other people. And like I said, being a native of this city, born and raised in Los Angeles, coming to Los Angeles not as an immigrant, but as a native Angelino. And it breaks my heart to see what the city's gone through. And it's just getting worse. And I got two sons. One's a captain with a major airline. One's a captain with LAPD. Great, good upbringing. They have the frustration too. But people who listen to this, who are going to say, you know what? I'm disgusted with what I see. I'm disgusted going down the street, the panhandles. I'm disgusted when I go to the park. I'm disgusted when they break in my car. I'm disgusted with everything. It's like, this could be paradise, city of the angels. How blessed could it be? From the ocean to the desert to the mountain. I mean, we have everything. We're not like some places where you got humidity and you got the bugs and you got this. I don't like bugs. California is a good place. LA is a good place. We don't have a lot of bugs. And some places, they've got nothing but bugs.
Dennis, thank you for doing this. And also, thank you for being a big part of CityWatch from the beginning, literally. And I look forward to seeing you again, and also to more articles more articles
I will.
from Dennis Zine,
I
more
promise.
rants and raves.